4th of July, fireworks in the sky, but the truth's still buried underground. Royal Oak, yeah. They told me, wave the flag while the chains still clank. Told me praise the names on the blood-soaked banks. Told me freedom was born in the room full of men who wrote liberty down while they own human skins. So fuck your founding fathers and the myths they made. I don't pledge to the lie, I don't kneel to the page. You can light up the sky, I remember the smoke from the fields, from the ships, from the necks in the row. You call it independence, I call it selective. You call it patriotic, I call it protective. Of the story so fragile it cracks when questioned. Truth knocks once and they call it aggression. Yeah. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, yeah. No justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. They say, look how far we came. I say, look what it cost. Every courthouse got a shadow, every victory got lost. They gave statues to the takers, made heroes out of thieves. Put their faces on the money while the hungry couldn't breathe. Don't lecture me on freedom from a stolen land stage. Don't quote old documents with blood on the page. Don't tell me be grateful for a seat at the table when my people built the room and got treated unstable. You can't buy me through the truth, you can dress it in stars, but the anthem still echoes like chains behind bars. I don't hate the people, I hate the disguise. I hate when the guilty get praised as the wise. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Don't call it hate when the wound speaks back. Don't call it division when our name was fact. Don't call it progress while the system still bites. Don't call it freedom if we still gotta fight. I'm not here for comfort, I'm not here to pretend. I'm here for the children who deserve better than this. Better than myths, better than chains, better than flags used to cover up pain. So this one's for the ancestors who never got rest, for the names never written but who gave us their best, for the mothers who prayed, for the fathers who ran, for the babies born fighting in the stolen man's plan. This is not disrespect, this is correction. This is not rebellion, this is resurrection. You can keep your parade, I keep speaking the truth. I don't need permission to remember my roots. Royal oak in the soil, truth in the flame. If the crown came with silence, then I don't want the name. But if the crown means standing when the whole world falls, then I'm 10 toes down till the real story's told. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roof scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Fireworks fade, truth don't die. Royal Low. 4th of July. Not your myth, not your lie, not your version of my life.
Right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen QueenAShakur show. I'm your host, Queen QueenAShakur, and this is your Daily Vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time Queen Goddess goes live. All right, now let's see who's in here. Chucky Keys, Truth Brown, Roxy is here. All right, let's get into it. Love Christy, Desmond. All right. OG Patrice, Mr. Elevation, We the People. Okay, Greta Lee. Mel is here. All right, let's get it popping. Dart of Zion. D Majors in the virtual building. All right. Everybody hit that like button. Thank you in advance. Pincy Lola is here. Fat Even. Okay. Sheila is here. All right. Carl Trade is here. Okay, so that I've been said, I see you, youngest Turner. Shout out to all of my Laura Rose and everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, so before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. I see you, G from the Land, Battle Axe, Y'all's Children. Okay, here we go. Likes up, likes up.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. Okay. And don't forget that you can also find her products at Walmart, and she has beard oil as well. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. First of all, we have some interesting news about Nolan, so let's get into it. Because word on the curb is, okay, and I just got this hot off the press. They say that Wyatt's grandfather was on Horn Island, honey. That's what they're saying out here in the streets, and they say they have proof. Okay, they're saying that, in fact, Wyatt's grandfather, Jerry Atkerson, was on Horn Island. Now, you know, I can't vouch for this. This is what the people are saying. I'm going to go to the video, but they say they have proof, and I believe them. And here's the thing. It all makes sense. You see, this is why they were so concerned about those wrongful death lawsuits that they already know that Nolan's parents are going to file. They already know. And this is why there's so much of a, let me just be quiet. This is why people have so many questions about if there's actually a cover up. Because who wants to pay all of those millions that would be definitely owed in a wrongful death lawsuit, even if nobody goes to jail, which I think somebody is going to jail real soon. Okay, because now this is supposedly a criminal investigation, as I reported to you this morning. If you missed that video, please go back and watch. But heads are about to roll because their story is falling apart real quick. And there's too many discrepancies, inconsistencies, contradictions, and lies. And those are not allegations. I'm saying that there absolutely are. Okay? Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, views, opinions, allegations, and accusations expressed by guests, third parties, or commenters are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the original Queen QueenAShakur show or any of my affiliate channels or social media accounts. Okay, content is presented for commentary, discussion, reporting, and educational purposes. Discussion of an allegation does not mean the allegation is true or endorsed by this channel. All persons are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. That all being said, I think we can all see that people have been telling lies during those Tatum interviews and saying things that were inconsistent and contradictory. Okay, we've seen that and heard that for ourselves. Now, we may not know what happened to Nolan or if anyone actually did anything to him. Could be just an accident. But the bottom line is, for people to be telling lies and inconsistent stories, it makes us all have questions, as we should. And also knowing the history of Mississippi and how these things that have happened with Nolan don't just happen, once in a while, once in a blue moon. They've been happening forever. Okay, for decades, and even more so in the last year. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, let's go to the footage, because I want to hear this. I literally have not listened to this whole video. I just heard her say that Jerry was on that island.
Well, we actually have proof that Grandpa Jerry was actually on Horns Island as well, which makes sense why he was able to call the captain, because he physically was watching him. Now, who was Wyatt on the phone with? Well, we know he was on the phone with Cecil Call, but let me show you Grandpa Jerry.
White-haired old man. Look, I just want you.
There he is.
And she also gave us a little specialty on Wyatt. And I thank her for that treat, because we all been asking the same question. Where is Wyatt? Why haven't we heard from Wyatt? Where are his boats that one we know was missing from the MDMR report? We just have no information, no nothing on him. He is seemingly in the dark, he's just disappeared somewhere. So where is he? And why haven't we heard from him? Just asking. My opinions, just asking. And thank you, Miss Trina. Thank you, Queen. I appreciate you. Well,
okay, so y'all heard that, right? And y'all saw him there. In case you didn't know which one he was the one with the extra large thing in front of him that looks like a stomach. Please pay attention, okay? I find it all so interesting, but let's continue. Let's continue, because this is all so interesting, honey. The more days go by, the more truth comes to light. So you mean to tell me he was on the island this whole time? And mind you, there were many adults out there who knew these kids, and they were out there drinking alcohol. Now, Warren said that himself. Underage drinking, and the adults didn't care. Yeah, heads are going to roll. Okay, please pay attention. They absolutely are. People are going to be sued. Okay, they absolutely are. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, let's go to this clip with this guy who used to be an attorney. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was a former prosecutor, but he had some things to say about the way that phone situation is being handled. And I love how they tried to put it all on Nolan's parents and act as though they were the ones not cooperating, when in fact, it's the DA and Ledbetter, if you ask me.
Phone in the Nolan Wells case. I have a message directly to DA Angel Myers McGrath from a former prosecutor who did the same job you did, 30 years criminal trial experience, certified criminal trial lawyer, former head county prosecutor. Please listen carefully. This phone issue is getting out of hand. Nobody knows what to believe because you keep refusing, as I've said previously, to do proper public relations. Now, supposedly, there's a letter out there that says you agreed in July to have the phone examined with the experts from the family at a specific location and in a specific way, and that they are ready, willing, and able, and gave 4 dates this week where they would be willing to surrender that phone for examination. Now, I've been involved in things like this, so I don't know what's been said or hasn't been said, but I'll say this. The only story that we're listening to is that from Nolan Wells' family. And when they send you a letter and you don't respond and correct that letter, then we can only presume rightly that what's in that letter is correct. So the question becomes, if you had an agreement in July, why is it not being honored? There are accounts that you have demanded that the phone just be turned over in violation of that agreement. And that is not a good thing, not a good look. I can tell you from the commentary on the posts that I've had that your constituency out there in Mississippi does not trust law enforcement and does not trust this investigation. Your continued failure to update the community on any misinformation, if there is misinformation, or say, for example, if this agreement is not what the agreement was, then you need to get out there and you need to let the public know. Now, Stop with this thing that you don't compromise investigations about speaking about them. I've addressed this before. You are not compromising an investigation by correcting the record. You are making sure the public has an understanding. So we can only presume what's been written by Mr. Crump and his team is accurate. That phone is vital to any grand jury presentation. If you don't get that phone and you don't download it, then you are going to look like a bum no matter what it is that you do, and nobody will ever trust the investigation. To be honest with you, I wouldn't trust it either. That phone is vital. There is allegations that there's destruction of evidence that's on that phone, and we need to see what's on it and what's not on it. And for the rest of the folks that are out there, understand, they're not going to be going through the phone picture by picture, page by page. This is downloaded into a computer program called Celebrate. And from there, there's extractions that are done, mirroring of the phone. And then both sides can be confident they have all of the information. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, DA, I can hear you say, well, we're going to be setting a precedent that everybody thinks that they have a right to have their people there when they examine the phone. Well, you know what? I don't know, and I don't care. If you agree to that in this particular situation, we'll look at it like a one-off, but the community, me, everyone out there, and certainly the victim's family need to know it's been done in the right way. So get off your ass and get that phone examined one way or the other. The phone in the Nolan Wells case. I have a message directly to DA Angel Myers McGrath from a former.
Sorry, my mouse was stuck for a second. Okay, so y'all heard what he said. And no lies detected. Okay? No lies detected. I love how they flip the script and sitting up there trying to act like it's the parents who don't want to cooperate, like I said. Okay, now with that all being said, let's go to this next clip. Here we go. Oh, yeah, that phone is likely the smoking gun. I mean, there's a reason that they kept it, a reason Warren didn't mention to Mrs. Christine Wansley that he had it until she let him know that she was tracking it. I wonder what would have happened had she not even mentioned that to him. I wonder what would have happened. Thank goodness she did, because otherwise she may never have gotten that phone back. And I want you all to pay attention. Had she never gotten that phone back, I wonder how this story would be going right now. Okay? I just wonder. Pinchalota says somebody going to jail. Damn it, Bart. Exactly. Okay? Thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
Communicating. And he explained he sent her a message on Messenger, and he let her know, I have a screenshot of Nolan's last location. I didn't know if I should send it or if it would be helpful, or, you know, if you need this. And she replied back and said, anything at this point would be helpful. Please send the screenshot. So he sent her the screenshot, and he explained, you know, I had just snapped him. I was just within minutes of, you know, hopefully getting a reply back from him, but I've not heard anything. And she explained that Nolan left his phone on the boat. So I know that she knew that information. She stated it. She also said where the phone was, which I've not given that information to anybody but Crump's team. But she said where the phone was. It was not with her. So I know that. And then she just explained that Nolan had no means of communication at that time. So he wouldn't be snapping him back. So I had my son call Jackson County Sheriff's Department the following day after Nolan was missing. Jackson County Sheriff's Department said, Nolan's mom has his phone. Thank you. And we didn't hear anything else after that. So I emailed Ben Crump once he came onto the scene to send him the information. I also sent it to Christine myself. I sent it to the Cajun Navy. Now, this is all while Nolan is still just missing. And I sent it to a personal friend that had posted that her and her husband were going out to look for Nolan. Other than that, I hadn't shared it publicly with anyone. But after, a long stretch of time passed, and I felt like if I have this many questions about what I'm looking at, if the shoe were on the other foot, I would want somebody to make sure that I had this information. So I went to social media, and I figured if I tell this enough, somebody's going to hear it, and it's going to catch the right attention. And maybe the information will get there quicker. I figured maybe the email has gotten lost in the shuffle. I'm sure they're getting a lot of tips and calls and emails. So that's when I took to social media. I was able to get Crump's correct tip line. Finally, I called. It was an AI assistant. They just kind of recorded my information, my name, what I knew, and said that, someone would get back in touch with me. Last Friday at about 10:30, I was actually on a live, and the phone call came in. And my phone is set up that it'll show me a transcript. It asks the person that's calling, leave your name and why you're calling, and I'll see if this person is available. And so I saw the transcript come up that said Ben Crump's tip line. So I quickly exited the live, took the call, spoke with the woman, explained. We kind of went over what I had recorded. She kind of was giving me bullet points on the information that I had left her. And she asked me if I still had the screenshot. I said, yes, I've already emailed it, but I can email it again. She said, do you want to email it? I said, I will text it to you right now if you can receive text messages on this phone. She could. So I did. She looked at it. We went over it together. I kind of pointed everything out to her in the screenshot that I had noticed. And she said, wow. And then she said, out of the hundreds of tips that we have received, in my opinion, this is by far the most beneficial. I'm going to flag this high priority because somebody's eyes are going to want to be on this. So that's kind of where we are in the situation now, but it does give a little bit more insight and definitely more questions. He's speaking to Christine from.
Now, with that all being said, that was clearly the lady, if you all remember, who came out some months ago saying that her son had snapped Nolan, and he took a screenshot, and she said she didn't know why or what made him take a screenshot. She said it must have been a God thing, if you all remember. That's that lady. Okay, so apparently she wasn't lying, because I was skeptical, because I'm like, lady, where are you coming from with this? But so clearly she said that she's been in touch with them and given them information. Now, I just wonder how many more people have given Crump's team information as opposed to giving it to Ledbetter's team. This is going to get real interesting. Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, here is another clip I want to go to. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Let's see what they're talking about.
You said y'all
Says,
are en route to the judges.
hold on, says, I just heard the police dispatch and I'm confused. This detail from Nolan Wells' case caught my attention after hearing the police call. What am I missing? Let's listen to this again. We listened to it this morning and we've heard it before, but let's listen to it again and see if we missed anything.
House or from the judge's house? En route to the judge's house. Destined for I keyed up on you. Appreciate it. 10-4.
32, finish up with whatever you got and get down here.
Currently dealing with a potential missing person.
Do you have all the information from this 1050?
10-4?
1024, 10-8, give me a J2.
10-4.
Negative. We're en route to the judge's house. Negative. We're en route to the judge's house now.
I don't know, but he told him to get down there right now, as if it was a dire emergency. I don't know what that was all about, but find it interesting. And let me just tell you all this, something I meant to tell you all this morning. Okay, now I know some people are excited because Nancy Grace is on the case, and it looks like she's been doing a pretty good job, but I noticed a couple of things, okay? I want y'all to pay attention. And also, I heard something that Teslin Figaro said today when she was speaking with Elliot Connie, so let's talk about it. I told you all, I don't like Nancy Grace, okay? I don't like Nancy Grace. Now, I did applaud her for what she's doing on this case, but I feel like she's only doing it because it's trending, gets her views, and also because I think she's kind of cool with Crump. Okay, other than that, I don't think she'd be doing us any favors for Nolan, because she damn sure didn't do us any for Karmelo. Now, I'm going to get into why I have a problem with her, and I want you all to pay attention. Now, I'm not trying to tell anyone else that you shouldn't like Nancy Grace. I'm just telling you that I don't like Nancy Grace, and I don't trust her, period. Okay, now, Pensilona says, Queen Sleaze with notebook and pen, family donate. I'm not sure what you meant. Clearly, that's a typo, beloved. Not really sure what you're saying. Something about the notebooks and pen family. I'm not sure. But thank you for your insight into the topic of your contribution. Peace, love, and blessings. Could you please put back in the chat exactly what you were trying to say? And then says, honor and respect. Thank you for loving us. Absolutely, beloved. It's my pleasure. All right. And thank you for your kind words and your contribution. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, kindly tell me what that other message was supposed to say. Okay. Now, that all being said, here's why. I wrote it down so I didn't forget anything. Hold on. I actually meant to tell you all this morning. Okay, first of all, the first thing that I noticed that I thought was sketchy and I didn't say anything is when Nancy Grace was talking to the guy from the Cajun Navy. And he said she was asking him about that boat being cleaned or searched. And then he said there's a chemical that they can use to clean anything off that boat. And you'd never know anything was on there if it had been. And she said, now I'm paraphrasing, this is not exactly what he said, but something along those lines. Nonetheless, she asked him what was the chemical. And he wasn't going to tell her what the chemical was for obvious reasons. Because first of all, if anybody does something nefarious, like take somebody out of here, okay, and then they need to clean up the body fluids, then they know what chemical to go get. Duh, that was so dumb. And she's a former prosecutor, so I know that she knew that was a dumb question. But also, it seemed, the first thing I thought was, if these people did do something to Nolan and there is any evidence on the boat, Nancy, if he tells everybody what it is, don't you think they'll go get it and use it? So I felt like if she tried to low-key help them, I noticed that. But let's continue. All right. Then I thought maybe she's just being rambunctious as she often is. Okay. Then the next thing I noticed was, when she said just days ago, when they were talking about the family, when the DA was trying to paint the picture as if the family didn't want to hand over the phone. She said, it's a bad look. What did she say? It looks bad for Nolan's family not to hand over the phone. And then she proceeded to tell them how they could get the phone by force, basically said they could subpoena them and all this, that, and the third. Now, whose side are you on, Nancy Grace? Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. But there's another thing. Slim Figaro was speaking with Elliot Connie today, and what she said was that Nancy Grace edited out what she was saying about Rage Batum tap dancing Tatum when Tesla was on her show, apparently. Yeah, she said Nancy edited that out and said, we're not going to keep talking about Tatum. But then when Tatum's on there, she said Nancy's always showing Tatum. She's always showing him like when it's coming on where they're talking about the case and all of that. And she is. So whose side is she really on? I don't like Nancy Grace. She's a whole damn carrot, like I've been told y'all, and I don't trust her. And I'm never going to forget all the low down things that she said about Karmelo Anthony. Because being a former prosecutor who won at least 100 cases, she knows damn well that Karmelo was fighting for his life, that it was all about self-defense. Please miss me with it. Okay, she saw the video footage just like we did. Okay, yeah, she saw it. Now, with that all being said, J Love the Queen says, I don't like that Brandon Tatum is using Nolan's case to promote his liquor. Who does? This is all he's doing. He's a grifter. And just like I said, all of these people are grifters, beloved. They're the ones that are grifting, but they want to sit there and try to act as though Nolan's parents are grifters. Let me say something else while I'm thinking about it. I want you all to pay attention to how the maggots, y'all know who I'm talking about, the people that don't like people who look like us and who are against Karmelo and who are against Nolan's family. They've told the same type of lies. The first thing they did with Karmelo was they lied and said that his family took the money and spent it on a fancy car and a house. They said that so that we would not continue to support them. I want you all to pay attention to the tactics that they use to try to make us not support our people like they support the racist devils amongst them, like the lady who called the 5-year-old black child the N-word at the park, and they gave her almost $1 million. Okay, please pay attention. So they lied and said that Karmelo's parents spent the money on a fancy car and a house, not saying anything about the fact that they had to move to a new house and they already had cars. His father was a finance manager at the Mercedes dealership until they got him fired or he had to quit because they kept coming up there harassing him and other people at the job. Now, and by them, I mean the maggots. Now, with that all being said, they also lied and said that Karmelo's family spent up the money, so they didn't even have money to pay for him an attorney, so he had a public defender. All lies and BS. I've already shown you all the proof and receipts that Mike Howard was nominated as the best criminal defense attorney in Dallas for 10 years in a row. Okay, so clearly there was a paid-for attorney. But further, they all lied on Karmelo to get him convicted. They all told a myriad of BS, okay? Seems like everybody worked in tandem together, all right? And notice I said tandem, not tangents, like the person that likes to parrot me. But anywho, dummy, okay? But anywho, with that all being said, they've done the same thing with Nolan, basically. Okay, they're sitting there acting like Nolan's parents. Oh, hold on, one more thing. With the case of Karmelo, they also tried to allude to the fact that Karmelo's family and parents didn't give a damn about him and said that they basically left him in there by himself during sentencing. When the truth of the matter is the judge had them to take his mother out because she was crying crying so hysterically. But they tried to make it like, oh, they didn't even care about him. They just left him in there by himself. And that's not even what happened. Meanwhile, they did the same thing with Nolan's parents, saying that Mrs. Christine Wansley was a grifter, that she was just using this for a money grab. How dare they? How kind of sick-minded individuals are they? I want to pay attention, okay? And then sitting there saying she's grifting. Why does she need a GoFundMe? None of their damn business is why. And it's also none of their business why we want to donate to it, period. Okay, but I want you all to pay attention. Like I said, they will donate to the worst of their worst. But when we have decent Black folk who have been wronged by injustices perpetuated by maggots like them, then they want to sit up here and try to make us not support our own people. And I'm telling you right now, any Black person that listens to maggots are absolutely out of your mind. Absolutely out of your mind. Okay? Please pay attention. Now, with that all been said, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, let's go to this last video of Melo's parents. I mean, not Melo's parents, Nolan's parents. And then we're going to talk about Karmelo. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Here we go. Let me put an overlay on this.
Quote friends or fake friends, as some of y'all would like to call them. In all these interviews they've been doing, they've been out their body during these interviews, bruh. Right? They've been as disrespectful as you can be to grieving parents. Now, in a parent's response to these boys, they exposed them, exposed a couple of lies they were told as well. Now, these boys, in my opinion, have been really, really, really disrespectful. And if the parents would have went a little harder in their response, I wouldn't have had a problem with it either. One of these boys stated that when Nolan Wall's mama posted a photo, a picture of Nolan Walls with them that they took on the island, that was her pushing racism. Mind you, the mother posted that picture when Nolan went missing. She was posting the pictures to show people what Nolan was wearing. So hopefully if anybody could find Nolan or see Nolan, could let her know. They painted that as a bad faith action. They painted that as her race hustling or race baiting, right? And they said that out like outside of their mouth. Like, and to me, that's just insane. Like that, they've been painting the mama as if she's like a villain in a situation when that's far from the truth. Right? That's far from the truth. This is a grieving mother who has done nothing, but I'll be real, have been more than fair to these boys. The mom came out and said, hey, I'm not saying the boys did anything wrong. I'm just saying I want answers, right? But this is the first time where she truly defended herself and defended her family. And this was long due.
Boat returns, Nolan is not there. At 11 p.m., he calls to say Nolan is missing. I wonder if either of you, whoever wants to answer, what happened in those few hours that prompted Warren to be concerned?
I'm not quite sure what would prompt him to be concerned, but all I can say is what I did that day. So me and my sister, we made an order of pancit, which is a Filipino noodle dish for one of our friends. They were having a big family get together, and we really didn't have anything planned for the 4th. So me and my sister are, cleaning up, and this is about 8. And she's like, hey, no one hasn't text us. And that was the thing. No one was really big with communication with us, right? And so I call him, doesn't answer. I end the call, call back. And this is probably, I think, maybe around 8. Don't quote me on the times, guys. So then I call again later around 8, still no answer.
Don't forget, they still had Nolan's phone at this point. Now, the mama didn't say, hey, I called, it went straight to voicemail, or hey, I called and the phone is dead. Because if she would have called once and it went straight to voicemail, then she wouldn't have called a second time. So obviously this phone was ringing. And this phone was in the boy's possession. So if the phone is ringing and it's in your possession, why you in pickup?
Exactly, because they wanted to keep that phone. They were not going to tell her they had it. The only reason Ward came out and said he had it was because she told him straight up that she was tracking it and it was on dry land, okay? And so that's why he said it, because he knew if she's tracking this phone, it would track back to the address of wherever it was, okay? Which was with them. That's why he went ahead and admitted it, not because he was trying to be helpful.
The reason why that's important to me was because I think Warren told the story of, they was chilling at one of the friend's house. He went upstairs to talk to the friend's dad. And when he came downstairs, they were just conveniently having a conversation about Nolan. So that sparked him to say, wait, hold on, where is Nolan? So then he called the Coast Guard and he called the mama. Now, I always thought that story was unusual. Now, I have no proof that story is not true, so I can't say it's not true. I'm just saying that story just seems a little bit too unusual and perfect for me. Now, an alternative that would make sense is the mom is blowing up Nolan's phone. They are in possession of the phone. So they finally said, damn, okay, let's call Nolan. All right. Right.
When you think about it, nothing they did makes sense, or nothing that they claim they did. Because first of all, if he really thought Nolan was missing, which I think he absolutely knew exactly where Nolan was, that's what I think. But anyway, I can't prove it. But if he actually thought Nolan was missing, here's the thing. You called Nolan's mom to see if she talked to Nolan, but you had Nolan's phone. So if you had Nolan's phone, then you should have known that if Nolan had been anywhere and everything was okay, Nolan would have called you or Wyatt to get his phone. He would have been using someone else's phone 9 times out of 10, or trying to get to where they were, where his keys and car were, Jax's house, right? Jax's granddad's house. He would have been trying to either get there or call one of his so-called friends, okay, to get his phone. That's the first thing he would have done. And since he hadn't done that, then he should know that no, the mother hasn't talked to him. Of course, we already know that he know the mom hadn't talked to him, and I'm pretty sure we all know why. But with that being said, even if he thought the mom had talked to him, why would she talk to him before you when you have his phone? How's he talking to her? So he's going to borrow someone else's phone to call her and then let her know he's okay or whatever, but not call you guys and you all have his phone. You see how that makes no sense? And like Judge Judy says, when it doesn't make sense, it's a lie. So let's continue.
Right. No. Let's call Nolan's mom before they get too worried here. Right. Now, that would make more sense, right? Like they realize, yo, we got Nolan's phone. The phone keep ringing. Let's call his mom back. But that other story of apparently like he walked downstairs. I'm not buying that at all. But again, I'm just not buying it. I'm not making no accusations here before they try to sue. I'm not buying it.
So then I call again later around 8, still no answer. And then I want to say I called one more time, and I think that was at like 10:48. So I'm in the kitchen. My phone rings. Now this is probably like early 11 o'clock, somewhere around there. Phone rings when I make it back to the phone, and I'm like, whose number is this? Because, we get weird phone calls sometimes. They didn't leave a message. Number pops back up. I pick up the phone because it says maybe Warren. And I'm like, Warren? So this is 11:07. That's per my cell phone records. So I answer the phone. He's like, hey, Miss Christine, have you seen or talked to Nolan? I said, no. Why? He should be with you guys. And he said, oh, no, well, when we went to the island, there was a girl named Katie that he met, and he had decided to stay behind. And I said, what? Because we know our child. And Nolan isn't one to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind, and I'm going to stay here with this girl that I just met. So I'm on the phone with him. Now I'm in a panic. I'm running into my room. Elmore was in bed watching a different movie, and I'm like, frantic. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, Nolan is missing. I'm trying to pull up the GPS as I'm talking to him. And at some point he tells me that, I was like, well, his phone says GPS Life 360, not Snapchat.
Right.
Life 360 says that he's on land. And he was like, well, no, I mean, we have his phone. And I'm like, wait, what?
Why wouldn't that be the first thing you mentioned? Now, maybe I'm just looking too deep into it, right? But why wouldn't that be the first thing you mentioned? Oh, by the way, if you've been trying to call him, don't worry, don't call him. We got his phone.
I think they likely saw her calling and just ignored the calls. Now, Keisha says, Queen, we don't F with Poetic Flacco. He said Karmelo's parents should have raised him better. Well, I'm not fooling with him. I'm listening to the receipts that he has because I don't want to hunt for this video. And since he already had it, I decided to use it, beloved. But also, I find it interesting because you all do fool with him because he said Karmelo's family or parents should have raised him better. Well, I definitely think that was disrespectful and I don't approve of it. But at the end of the day, y'all fool with Nancy Grace and she said a whole lot worse. But let's continue.
But we're going to look for him. The fact that the mama got to bring up the phone first, or she got to inquire about the phone first before you say, oh, by the way, ma'am, just so you know, we got the phone. I don't know. That's just...
We have his phone. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, okay. Because at that point, you're telling me, this is coming from Warren, don't worry about it. We're going to find him. It's going to be okay.
And by the way, she did not respond back to him saying, Nolan's mom, reminds me of my own mother, bruh. She don't play about me. Nolan mama was not playing about him, bruh. She would even say, and you're about to hear, she got really offended. Like, hold on, what? What do you mean don't worry about my son? Y'all telling me y'all got my son's phone, y'all came back home without him?
Come down and give a report. I said, okay, so on our way, because we don't live that far from the police station, on our way there, I was like, well, let me stop by the hospital, because there's a hospital that's maybe 5 minutes up the road from our house. Stop by there. I'm like, hey, have you guys seen this kid? Has he been brought in? The lady's like, no, ma'am, we hadn't. I said, okay, thank you. Run out. We go to the police.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. Well, actually, I should have let you all hear what she said about the police. Let me go back to that, because the police clearly sound like they were giving her the runaround. So low down and nefarious at the end of the day. Let's listen to this part, and then we're going to move on, because I really want to talk about Karmelo.
And the officer basically says, again, this is out of our jurisdiction. And at that point, I'm like, my God, who am I supposed to talk to? Who is supposed to help me with this? So then he said, it's going to be, you would have to call DMR. I was like, we've already called DMR. DMR said it's not in their jurisdiction. So
now riddle me this. Do you think that those are the people that you would trust to lead this investigation? Riddle me this, okay? Now,
I'm going to stop right there. Keisha said now he's trying to grip off of Nolan. Get the F out of here. Let me tell you something, beloved. I absolutely agree with you that, any of the people who weren't down for Karmelo, I'm sorry. And you're talking about Nolan, you're just grifting. That's my opinion. If you weren't down for Karmelo, because clearly anybody with sense knew that they railroaded him, they knew that Karmelo was only defending himself. And if you don't have sense enough to know that, then you're just obtuse. But if you knew that Karmelo was defending himself and you didn't defend him, and now you're talking about Nolan Wells, yeah, you're just grifting. I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. And that's what Nancy Grayson's doing, if you ask me, grifting, okay, on a river. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about Karmelo. Okay, let's talk about Karmelo. With that being said, likes up, everyone, please like and share. Let's go to this first clip. We're going to look over those transcripts too, because when I tell y'all, honey, the bullshit was real. Okay, I so wish I had gone to that trial. If I'd known it was going to end so quickly, I darn sure would have gone.
My name is Courtney of Courthouse Couture. I'm a lawyer, but not your lawyer. And yes, I've been practicing law in the state of Texas for 16 years. We're going to have to talk about the fact that Karmelo Anthony's new legal team, they're going to be headed to court 2 times next week. Once on August 19th, it will be arguing that the judge that presided over Karmelo Anthony's trial, Judge Roach, that he should be recused, that there should be a new judge allowed. And then on August 20th, they will be arguing their motion for a new trial. Now, in the motion to recuse Judge Roach, they are going to have to show bias. Bias that they're talking about are the post-trial interviews that Judge Roach did. He expressed Karmelo Anthony's new legal team is calling personal opinions about the propriety and correctness of the jurors' verdict, fairness of the trial, correctness of the judge's own rulings at the trial. The very next day, Karmelo Anthony's new legal team will be arguing Karmelo Anthony needs a new trial. We know now, now that more information has come out, that based on secret deals made, Karmelo Anthony's original
Updating the Nolan Wells file. Do you see that? This is the Triton. You could fit a body up under there.
Okay, so like she said, they want a new trial. And hopefully that's exactly what he'll get. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Well, let's get ready to get into it. Okay. Now, there's a lot to these transcripts. I haven't gone through the whole thing, but I did write down some timestamps for the ones I wanted to go through. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, here we go. Hold on, I'm just queuing this. think I'm going to start at about page, hold on, 17 on the first set. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Now, let's start right here. So, this is one of the first sets of transcripts because they had multiple sets. Okay, hold on. Let me scroll up. Okay. This is when the jury has just been brought in and they say, good morning. Mr. Worski is the assistant DA to Greg Willis, who's the DA. Again, my name is Bill Worski. I'm one of the assistant district attorneys that represents the state of Texas in this case. And as the judge said, it is now my duty to read the true bill of indictment to you folks. And it reads as follows. True bill of indictment. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Collin County, state of Texas, duly organized at the January term AD 2025 of the 219th District Court of said county in said court at said term do present that one Karmelo Sincere Anthony hereinafter called defendant or on or about the second day of April 2025 in said county and state did then and there intentionally and knowingly cause the death of an individual, namely Austin Metcalf, by stabbing Austin Metcalf with a knife, a deadly weapon, and further then and there with intent to cause serious bodily injury to Austin Metcalf, an individual, commit an act clearly dangerous to human life by stabbing Austin Metcalf with a knife, a deadly weapon that caused the death of Austin Metcalf. Now, what I want you to notice right away, and I'm sure you have, is that he keeps saying in words like inflammatory words, intentionally did cause the death with a deadly weapon, the death of Austin Metcalf. He keeps saying those dark words. What he's doing here is painting a picture. Okay, commit an act clearly dangerous to human life by stabbing Austin Metcalf with a knife, a deadly weapon that caused the death of Austin Metcalf. You see what I'm saying? Against the peace and dignity of the state, signed by the foreman of the grand jury. The court then says, thank you, Mr. Worski. Mr. Anthony, to these charges, how do you plead? Guilty or not guilty? The defendant says not guilty. Thank you. Have a seat. Now I'm going to go down just a little bit. Okay, so the court, hey, could you do me a favor? I put lavaliers on your table. Would y'all mind wearing those during your statement so that we can call or we can all hear you? Mr. Worski says, thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Okay. They go on to say, counsel, this is Worski talking, counsel. Good morning. Again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is our opportunity to share with you what we believe the evidence will be in this trial. Now, to basically, okay, what the evidence will be in this trial, to basically tell you why we are all here this morning. And very simply, we are all here this morning because this young man, Karmelo Anthony, on Wednesday, April the 2nd of last year, 2025, decided to take a knife to a high school track meet and provoke and goad another young man who he didn't know into touching him. And the instant he is touched, he produced a hidden knife already open in his hand and plunged it into his chest, buried it into the heart of another young man, causing his death, and then he ran away. Now, do you all hear this? Do you all hear this? You hear how this is all playing out? Okay? You hear how this is all playing out? Now, this is absolutely why he was found guilty. Listen to the language. And this is all lies in a painted narrative. Okay, Miss Pucci says, I believe that's how he got Warren, got her number and only called Javon to confirm her number, not to get it. He knew. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Hold on, I missed this earlier. So here's the thing. Someone said something about that in the comments. Someone said that Javon's mom said she had to tell Javon that Nolan was missing. And they said they would have thought that Javon already knew Nolan was missing because of when Warren called to get the number for Mrs. Christine, that he likely would have told Javon, that they don't believe that Warren wouldn't have told Javon. Well, I absolutely believe that Warren wouldn't have told Javon. And here's why. Because Warren wanted to take the credit for being the first one to contact Mrs. Christine. Warren could have just simply called Javon and said, look, we haven't talked to Nolan and we have his phone. Have you heard from him? Okay, well, can you call his mom and let her know we got his phone and see if she's heard anything? He could have just done that. It was very calculated what he did. He didn't want to tell Javon, and I'm sure that when he called Javon, he didn't say anything about Nolan missing. He probably just said, hey, give me Miss Christine's phone. I need to ask her something. Or he could have made it seem as though it was no big deal. Okay, he could have just said, hey, I got Nolan's phone. I don't even think he told him that, because then Miss Christine would have known that. So clearly, I don't think that for a second he told Javon Nolan was missing. I don't think that. Now, maybe he did, but I don't think so. Because like I said, we saw how he used that same talking point later to pat himself on the back and act as though we should all be patting him on his back too. I was the first one to call Miss Christine. I was the first one to call the Coast Guard. Javon didn't call her. Yeah, because Javon didn't know Nolan was missing. And I already told you all that 1,000 times. Javon did not know she was missing, or he was missing, because if he did, I'm pretty sure he would have been talking to Miss Christine too. So I don't believe it. Okay, I absolutely don't believe it. Thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. And I also don't think that Warren had Miss Christine's number. Miss Christine didn't look at Warren as if he was such a good friend of her son's. Okay, the one that she said was a friend was Jax. And then we know Javon was, because he was at the funeral and everything else. I don't think Warren was a good friend. And I don't think Warren had that number. If he had it, he definitely wouldn't have called Javon, not in my opinion, beloved. Now, Pensalona says, I stayed lurking. And thank you for your insight and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Pensalona says, I stayed lurking the tube streets watching copycats on Queen. Not watching copycats on Queen. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate your kind words. Okay, or your shade that you're throwing at people and your contribution. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, now that all being said, goes on to say, but just listen to how he's painting this picture. The other young man has a name. His name is Austin Metcalf. And Austin died that day in a high school stadium because this man decided to commit an unjustified, provoked murder. That's why we are here this morning. This case has nothing to do with race. This case is not self-defense. This case is about a man for a reason or reasons unknown who took the knife to the track meet, slipped into the... Now listen to this part. Listen to this part. This is a case about a man for reason or reasons unknown who took the knife to the track meet, slipped inside into another team's tent, refused to leave. They said he slipped in, like he snuck in, okay? And refused to leave and taunted them and goaded them and provoked them. And when Austin Metcalf finally went and pushed and shoved him to move him out from the tent, that's when he lodged his sneak surprise attack. The folding knife already open. He had it hidden so no one could see it in his backpack. And then he plunged it into Austin Metcalf's heart, an act clearly dangerous to human life. It's the second time he said that, okay, in the first 10 minutes that he's been talking. Now, in fact, an act that took a human life that day. That is why we are here, folks. No other reason. The fact of this case is simple. The facts of this case are simple. They are simple as this killing, as this murder was senseless. Okay, simply senseless. Now you're going to hear a little bit more about his deadly and dangerous actions that day. But more importantly, you're going to see them. See, there was a surveillance video that morning at Kendall Stadium, and you're going to see it in just a minute. and just a few minutes. And that video tells the story. That video shows the murder. And then you're also going to hear from numerous eyewitnesses who were there to tell you after he slipped into another team's tent, he refused to leave, asked by multiple people, multiple times, "You're going to have to make me touch me, see what happens, touch me, see what happens." And finally, when Austin Metcalf said he didn't want to fight, he just wanted Karmelo Anthony to leave. And finally, when Austin Metcalf laid hands on Karmelo Anthony, after Karmelo Anthony had provoked him and goaded him, he stabbed him and runs away, tossing the knife as he runs, and he tries to slip out of the stadium. Now try and act like he tried to leave. See, this is all lies. This is all nothing but lies. Are you all hearing this? This is nothing but lies. And you're saying, who said it? The assistant district attorney, Bill Owerski. That's who said it. He sat there and told nothing but outright lies. Okay, please pay attention. Now, goes or then tried to act as though he tried to make a clean getaway, running fast at first and then slowing down, trying to blend into the confusion and pandemonium that was going on out there that morning. That's what you are going to hear. You're going to hear from the kids that will tell you about these conversations, describe exactly what was going on under that tent that morning. This was a provoked, unjustified murder. The facts are simple. The killing, this murder is just senseless. It is senseless. So let me reset a little bit. Like he had to calm himself down. Let me rewind. Earlier that morning, that Wednesday, April the 2nd of last year, Huey Kendall Stadium, Frisco ISD, that morning, the district track meet was set to begin, okay? There were several of the Frisco high schools, including Memorial High School, where Austin Metcalf went and attended with his twin brother. It also included Centennial High School, where this young man attended, okay? And you're going to hear that Memorial actually hosted that district track meet. And you're going to hear later today from one of their coaches, Rob Starr. Rob Starr is going to come in and tell you a little bit about how track meets run. And in particular, how this particular track meet ran. And because they were the host, he had extra responsibilities. Coach Starr did that morning. Knowing he would be busy, knowing he would be doing 100 different things, he needed some people to step up and take charge of the team, get the tent set up, and make sure everybody was where they needed to be. And he sent a text early that morning to Austin Metcalf and another young man. And he said, "Hey, I need you guys to step up and be the leaders today, okay?" That's the text that Austin got. And as we get to about 10 o'clock, Coach Starr will tell you there was rain in the forecast that morning. Let me tell you all something. I didn't believe it then, and I don't believe it now, that Coach Starr sent a text to ask Austin to come to that track meet that morning. And here's why. Because Austin and his brother had been kicked off of the track team. Remember how I told you all they were kicked off the track team because they were not being respectful to the other teammates. They only finished their events and they leave. And one day they left and went fishing. So the coach kicked them off the team. Now, here's the thing. Now, this is what I'm thinking. Now, I could be wrong, but I also could be absolutely right. So what I think is that they got Coach Starr, because remember, it's a small town, and small town politics always play a role in situations like these, where there's blacks on this side and whites on the other. So in my opinion, they got Coach Starr to say that he asked them to be there and to act as leaders, because then that would explain why they were there when they're kicked off the team. Meanwhile, they lied and flipped the script and tried to paint the narrative that Karmelo was not supposed to be there, that Karmelo wasn't even participating in the track meet that day, but he was. He had an event that he was supposed to run, and also he was there to help the disabled children, as he often did. They also lied and said that Karmelo had been suspended from school before for bringing a knife to school. That's a whole lie. Okay, the ones who've been in trouble multiple times were the Metcalf twins. That's a fact. Okay, that's a fact. Now, let's continue. So anyway, some of the athletes, hold on, where was I? Okay, said there was rain in the forecast that morning. Light raindrops began to fall. That caused somewhat of a bit of confusion out there at the track meet. Some teams assumed incorrectly they were in a rain delay and went to the buses. Some teams and some athletes that had been to the buses because of the rain went in it slacking, started to filter back into the stadium. Some of the athletes warming up on the field, most of them staying in their assigned areas with their teams in their tents. Another thing I want to point out also is this. Not only do I think that the coach said that just to make it seem like they were supposed to be there, even though I don't think they were, because they weren't even on the track team anymore. So what are you doing? Okay, but to also explain away why Austin took it upon himself to try to force Karmelo to leave. Because if you say he's in a leadership position, then one might be driven to think, specifically a juror, they might be driven to think, oh, well, that's why he was telling the young man to get out from under their tent, because he was in charge. You see how that works? Okay, but he wasn't in charge. He should have gone and gotten an adult. Anyway, now goes on to say, and you are going to see the video surveillance that about 6.5 minutes before the murder, Austin Metcalf and his twin brother and several other boys entered that tent. They had been at Staley Middle School, which is very close to Huey Kendall. They had been over there saying hello to some of their former coaches. Actually, it was said by people in their community that they were over there, as I've already told you all, harassing a student. Okay, harassing a student from another high school. I want to say it was Evansville High School or something that starts with an E, but it was a female. And then supposedly Karmelo and some other students had stopped them from harassing her earlier. Now, they say that when they came storming over to Huey Kendall, they were looking for Karmelo because they were already pissed off because he was one of the guys that told them to stop and snitched on them. And that's why their mom had to come to the school. Remember how their mom said she beat the ambulance to the hospital? That's because she was already in the area, because really she lives about 45 minutes from there. Okay, so please pay attention. Now, let me continue. So anyway, they had been over there saying hello to some of their former coaches, trying to act like they're so nice and sweet. Oh, they came to visit their coaches. You will see them come in up to the tent. The video will show you normal activity under the tent. People seated, some people leaving to go warm up. A lot of kids just sitting there, heads buried in their phones. And about 2 minutes after Austin Metcalf entered the tent, this man, Karmelo Anthony, notice he keeps calling him a man, okay? Karmelo Anthony, he enters the picture, and you will see the video. He comes up on those visitor side bleachers, comes up from a protected area that might have kept him out of the rain, comes up, looks around, and strolls right past 2 large Liberty High School tents and their athletes and their coaches, and he makes a beeline for the memorial tent. Now, this is all lies and BS, because we all saw the video. I showed you all the most enhanced version of the video that we could find. And in fact, Karmelo was there before Austin and Hunter. Karmelo is seated under the bleachers, under the tent, when Hunter and Austin and their other friends, Lucas and the other one, come walking in. We all saw that. So these are all lies. Now, it goes on to say, okay, and you will pick him up in another camera angle, slipping into the memorial tent up top of the tent. The bleachers have a slant. They put the tent over it, and you will see more normal activity once he is in the tent. The witnesses will tell you numerous of the memorial athletes said, "Hey man, what are you doing here? You can't be here. You need to leave." We know what Coach Starr expects. No one else other than the teammates under the tent See, the tents kind of serve as a locker room, as Coach Starr will tell you. It is very important to protect the kids from the elements, a place where they can safely leave their belongings without fear of theft. These athletes knew what their coach's expectations were, and he is refusing to leave. Numerous people are asking him to leave, and I'm not going to leave. Move me, make me. And finally, doing as his coach had requested in a text message, Austin Metcalf steps up, shows a little leadership, and says, "You need to go." Now, that's not what happened. What about the part where Austin said, "I'm going to beat your B-I-T-C-H-A-S-S"? He didn't say anything about that now, did he? So anyway, says, "You need to go. You need to go." What does he say? "Do you want to fight? Make me, touch me, and see what happens." The kids will tell you Austin was unwilling. He didn't want to sing. He didn't want to fight, but he kept provoking, goading, and taunting until finally Austin Metcalf took the bait and touched him, shoved him, pushed him. You will see it on the videotape. You see how they're minimizing his culpability? Now I want you all to think about this. Think about this. Think about if someone punched you in the face. If someone put hands on you or did something wicked to you, some form of attack, and you call the police, and the person tells the police, "Well, they kept goading me. They were provoking me. They kept saying, do it, touch me, touch me. I bet you won't touch me. I bet you won't touch me." And so I touched him. I finally got fed up. How the hell is that your fault? That's what they're saying. You see how stupid that sounds? And only racist demons could make that make sense to themselves in their minds. How does that make any sense whatsoever? So you mean to tell me because someone said words to you, that gave you the right to put hands on them and you don't get any consequences for assaulting them because they provoked it? Yeah, they did that to take away the self-defense aspects. That's what they did. They wanted to make it like it was cold-blooded, calculated, premeditated murder. Okay, and that's what they did clearly because the jury fell for the BS. And those jurors were probably racist themselves because none of them were black. Okay, please pay attention. And they live in Frisco. So I'm sorry, but absolutely, I believe they were all racist. But let's continue. So with that, and anytime someone says it's not about race, it's always about race. If it's not about race, you don't have to mention race. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to bring it up. You don't have to give a disclaimer. You don't have to do any of that. As soon as the assistant DA said this case is not about race, that's when anyone who was curious or who didn't know should have known it's about race. Okay, because why the hell is he bringing it up? And the funny thing is, it's always the people who claim it's not about race and say we're making it about race. They're always the first ones to bring up race. Did you all even notice that? Because I sure did. I noticed it all the time. But let's continue. So anyway, goes on to say he didn't want to fight. Do you want to fight? Make me, touch me, and all of that. Like Karmelo was saying, all of this BS. Okay. So crazy. He didn't want a scene. He didn't want to fight, but he kept provoking, goading, and taunting till finally he pushed him. You'll see the videotape. And at that point, he had been sitting there the last few minutes of the taunting, the provoking, the goading with his hand in the Centennial High School backpack, a folding knife you will see later today, already open in his hand. But they didn't see the knife later that day. All they saw was a picture of it because the knife wasn't even introduced as evidence, from what I was told. Now, and he produced it swiftly and suddenly and plunged it into the chest of Austin Metcalf. Austin Metcalf, he didn't even know he had been stabbed. Once the stabbing happened, what does he do? He runs like the guilty run. He bolts from the tent. You will see this. He turns to his left, no doubt realizing he can't get out that way, so he turns to his right towards the main gate. He runs fast at first, then he slows down and tries to blend in and slip out of the front gate. Now back under the tent, the kids, as you can well imagine, have now leapt up. They do not know what's going on. Some of them, when they realize there has been a stabbing, they flee. They run for their lives. Actually, they were chasing Karmelo. They run for their lives, afraid that the stabbing was going to continue and other students would get hurt. Why would they think that if the stabber was gone and threw the knife as he ran, like he said as well? One group, including Blank, went to aid Austin. Once Austin realized he had been stabbed, he lifts up his shirt and says, "I've been stabbed." And the kids see a gaping, bloody wound. That's the knife wound right there, right through his heart. And he stumbled down several rows of bleachers and falls, where he is attended by several of the kids and his twin brother. Several of those kids called 911. A third group of kids that had seen the stabbing and figured out what had gone on, they point him out. They follow him. They point him out and finally get some coaches who are able to stop him right as he was trying to leave the track meet. Now, y'all know this is all lies and BS. When we saw the video, we saw Karmelo run, not out of the, trying to get out of the gate. He ran to the track field. He ran out onto the grass, the grassy part, to his coach, went right up to his coach. And then the coach is sitting there talking to him. That's what we saw. What does he say when he is stopped by these people? He touched me. He touched me first. He touched me. As if somehow that fact justifies his act. As if somehow that fact justifies the murder he had just committed. As if he knew he had murdered the guy. Please pay attention. Okay, he didn't even know Austin was dead. In response to the 911 call, a Frisco police officer, Officer Cortez, who is the school resource officer in nearby Staley, he hears the call of the stabbing come out. He races towards Huey Kendall and he runs and gets the group of kids who are running in fear and tell them, "Hey, there has been a stabbing. The victim is over by the memorial tent." Officer Cortez activates his body-worn camera and runs toward the scene. When he gets there, he sees that these coaches have detained Austin Metcalf, and you will see all of this on surveillance video and an officer on Officer Cortez's body-worn camera. And what does Karmelo Anthony say when Officer Cortez appears to put him in cuffs? Cortez puts him in custody, puts on the cuffs, gets on his radio and said, "I have the alleged suspect in custody. Slow everyone down." Karmelo Anthony, despite not being questioned, says, "I am not alleged. I did it. I am not alleged. I did it." And then he repeats what he had told the bystanders. And you will hear this on the body-worn camera. "He touched me first. He touched me first." That's what you'll hear, trying to justify the murder. Most importantly, what you're going to hear is a telltale lie. A telltale lie. Seconds, moments after the murder, he lies to Cortez, who is not even trying to question him. "He touched me. He touched me first." What's the lie? "I told him not to. I told him not to." You see, he knows what he did. He knows he provoked the murder. He knows he goaded the murder. And in the seconds and minutes after that, the first line out of his mouth, "He touched me first. I told him not to." And that lie tells you everything you need to know about his mindset that day. Everything you need to know. He wasn't scared. He lied when he got caught trying to leave the stadium. He tossed the knife immediately after the stabbing, something no scared person would do. If you are scared and running away and you just had to stab someone in self-defense, why toss the knife? But that's what he did. He tried to slip away from the scene. And then when he gets caught, he tells that lie. And that lie should be very important to you folks as you listen to the evidence. You're going to see all of this video later this morning, and you're going to start to hear from the witnesses. You're going to start to hear from the witnesses. And I submit to you the facts of this case are very simple. It is a senseless murder. It is not about self-defense. You folks heard a little bit about the law yesterday. You will hear more about it as the case goes on. You simply cannot provoke someone and then when they touch you, produce a knife and take their life. Now I want y'all to pay attention. Here's the thing. Hold on. I'm trying to get this comment. Here it is. Queen, it really sounds like Karmelo said, "I'm not alleged. I didn't." Here's the thing. I think that is what he said, but I think he was just admitting that he was the person involved in the incident, not that he killed anybody at the end of the day. Also, because he didn't even know he killed him. And also, when he says that he's really putting 20 on 10, okay, when he's saying all this stuff, he's really laid it on thick. Okay, but I want you all to notice what else he's doing. Now, we saw the video footage, right? And the video footage was very grainy. Okay. And we had some people that tried to enhance it as best they could so we could get better visuals. But also remember, there was the original video that was absolutely clear, and it was like 4K, and it was shown at the school, okay, in 2025. All right. And so the people that saw that, there was a list of people, and I showed you all the list. I even had one of the people who saw it, I interviewed them on here. And so with that all being said, they saw exactly what happened. And they all said that Karmelo was jumped. They all said Karmelo was there first and he was seated, and that Austin and his friends came directly to Karmelo and confronted him. Okay, that's what they said. All right. Now here's what the assistant DA has done. When he's telling them you're going to see video footage and you're going to see Karmelo Anthony pull out a knife and stab him, you're going to see him run and try to leave. What he was doing was putting this in their minds, because they're not going to be able to see everything that happened, because we know it was grainy footage that they showed them on purpose. They don't want to show them the clear video. That's why that video now has been sealed. The evidence from the trial has all been sealed. Why? If the trial's over and the verdict's been given and the sentence has been issued, why is the evidence being hidden? Because they don't want the truth to come out. But it's going to come out, just like the truth about Nolan. These devils are not going to keep getting away with playing games with us, okay? Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, he knew that the jurors would not be able to see every detail of what happened. So he was setting the stage. He's telling them what they're going to see. So when they're looking at it, anything you can't figure out, you'll just assume that's what you're seeing, because that's what he already told you. It's kind of like the same thing they were saying about the audio from the CETO call, when they were saying that the people put the transcripts up there, and that's like making us think this is what we're hearing. But the only difference is we know what the hell we heard. I know I heard somebody say, damn it, Bart, I didn't need transcripts for that. I know I heard somebody say, no, wake the F up, check his chest. I heard all of that, and you all did too, and we didn't need transcripts for it. Okay, so I find it interesting. They tried to pick that out for the Nolan case, but nobody said nothing when they did that in the Karmelo Anthony case. But let's continue. So anyway, goes on to say that knife wasn't used to protect him from harm. That knife was used to harm another. That's what this case is about. Murder, plain and simple, and senseless. And after you hear all of this evidence, see all of the video, and listen to all the witnesses, I expect to be back up here in a few days talking with you folks and asking you to follow the oath that you took, follow the evidence that you saw, the evidence that you heard, and find this man guilty of first-degree murder. That's what this case is about. Thank you very much. The court says, thank you, Mr. Worski. Mr. Howard, how do you care to make an opening statement? Do you care to make an opening statement at this time? He says yes. Now let's hear the opening statement. After this, I want to go to another set of the transcripts so we can hear from one of the witness testimonies. Okay, and then we'll be out of here. I'm not going to read, because when I tell you it's hundreds of pages, and it's like 9 volumes, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, Mr. Howard says, yes, Your Honor. The court says you may proceed. Thank you, Judge. May it please the court? Yes, sir. Okay, so Mr. Howard says, ladies and gentlemen, there has been a lot of noise around this case. We all know it. We talked about this in jury selection. You told us you believe less than half of what you see on social media, in media in general. And I think that's fair, because there's a lot of noise about this case, a lot of completely false information. The good thing is, as the judge has told you, you're going to hear all of the actual evidence in this courtroom, and only in this courtroom. There has been a lot of noise about Melo, about his family. But what the evidence is going to show is that Melo is a son. He's a brother, the oldest of 4. He is a friend, a boyfriend. He is a student, graduated with a 3.7 GPA from Centennial High School, while holding down 2 jobs while he was in high school, while being an athlete, playing football, playing baseball, playing track. He was into chess, likes to go camping, but living here in the Metroplex doesn't get a ton of opportunity 2. Now, here's the problem. Now, I want y'all to pay attention. Notice when he was listing all the stuff that Karmelo did, he said he's into chess. Remember how they claimed that was the discrepancy that made them break the gentleman's agreement? Because the DA says that one of the agreements was that he was not supposed to mention that Karmelo was on the school's chess team. Now, why would that be a problem if he's on the school's chess team? Well, because people on the chess team tend to be smart. They tend to be intellectual. Okay, and disciplined. Now, so he didn't want him to say that. But he didn't say that he was on the school chess team. He just simply said he's into chess, likes to go camping, but living here in the Metroplex doesn't get a ton of opportunity to. So he basically said, Mike Howard said that he was using that as one of his hobbies. Anyway, but let's continue. Now, there has been a lot of noise about this family, and there has been a lot. But here's the thing. I want you all to pay attention, though. Because when he's talking about in the evidence you're going to hear, what he didn't say is you're going to hear that my client was defending himself. You're going to hear that he didn't commit murder, that it was, in fact, self-defense. He didn't say any of that. All he said was the evidence is going to show that he was a son, a brother, a student, an athlete. What the hell? We don't need evidence for that. We don't need evidence for that. Do you see how his fell short specifically compared to that one? And he did that on purpose. There's no way this man was voted the top Dallas criminal defense attorney from 2016 to 2026, and this is crap he's doing. He did this all on purpose. I don't care what anyone says. He did, and I'm not alleging. I'm saying he did it on purpose. Period. Sue me. He damn sure did. Now, with that all being said, goes on to say, there has been a lot of noise about this family. There has been a lot of noise about both families, to be honest, a lot of unfairness. They are going to hear the evidence in this court. You are going to hear the evidence in this courtroom that his mom is a nurse who gave up her career as she had more kids to stay at home, to be a stay-at-home mom with her 4 children. His dad is a finance manager for a car dealership. They are from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's where his parents are from. Okay, we don't need to know about his history. You see how he's not saying anything that's impactful to make it look like this young man has a fighting chance at winning the case and getting a not guilty verdict? He's just talking about things that are just superficial. Okay, this is all just superficial stuff he's talking about. The jury doesn't care about any of this. Now, also, while he's in high school, he has his first seizure, learns that he has epilepsy, diagnosed with epilepsy. His younger sister also has epilepsy. He gets on medication. It is pretty well controlled with medication. Going into his senior year, going into the fall of 2024, that's when he gets elected captain of the football team and is having a good year and gets injured that fall, injures his shoulder, and a few games into the season, his season is done. He is in a sling for months until shortly before the track meet that's changed everyone's life on April the 2nd of 2025. On April 22nd of 2025, he said April 22nd, not the 2nd. Melo woke up a little late in a rush to get to the track meet, drove from his home to the school, where he got on the bus with the rest of his teammates. Some kids had gotten permission slips signed so they could drive directly to the track meet. Melo rode the bus with everybody else. Melo was a varsity track kid. Now, most of the events that morning were JV and most of the varsity events were later, but Melo was scheduled to do long jump and some other events, but long jump was in the morning. Melo had a PT appointment for his shoulder that day, but decided, do you know what? I'm going to go to the track meet, and they canceled the PT. Okay, so he had physical therapy. That's what that was. And this is another thing too. I want you all to think about the fact that Karmelo is much smaller than Austin. Okay, he's like 80 pounds lighter than Austin, as I told you before. But also, there were 4 guys in his face hovering over him. We all saw the video. It was Austin, his big brother, or not, I don't mean like older than him, bigger. I mean, they're both big. His big brother, Hunter. Then you had Lucas and another guy who wasn't named. Now, those 4, according to Lucas, were the biggest ones on the team, and they were the ones that carried the coolers and stuff. That's what Lucas said. when he testified. Okay, so please pay attention. Now you got Karmelo, who's 5'9", weighs about 160, maybe 165, and these four big guys who are about 80 pounds more heavier than him apiece, all yelling in his face, talking trash. He's sitting there with an injured shoulder. The shoulder's still injured. That's why he was supposed to have physical therapy that morning, but missed it. Okay? Not to mention he has epilepsy. Okay? Could have had a seizure during an altercation. So they want to sit here and make us think he's a cold-blooded killer. Let's continue. And see, this is exactly why I don't like Nancy Grace. But let's continue. Now, goes on to say it was rainy that day, and it was on and off rain. But like we all know here in Texas, sometimes that on and off rain turns into heavy rain, and then it stops, and then it looks fine. And then 10 minutes later, it is raining again. And that's what was going on. When the kids arrived, at first it was quite light, but then throughout the morning, it will start raining hard. And then it will get or stop again. We've all been there. And so some kids do, they go to the bus. There is word going around that events are delayed. Some kids are taking cover under tents. Some kids are taking cover under the bleachers. A lot of kids are taking cover under the bleachers. Every team that was there that day had a tent except for Centennial for whatever reason. No one can remember if they forgot it or if they didn't have it then or what the deal was. But it is undisputed that Centennial didn't have a tent. All they had was a tarp. They put the tarp over the wet bleachers when they get there because it was not really raining hard. And then, of course, the second it rains, that tarp is just as every bit as wet and slick as anything else, and it is not protecting anybody from anything. So you will hear the evidence will establish that throughout that morning, Melo is in a normal mood, everything is fine, that he is relaxing. That he is relaxing with his teammates, talking, that goes and takes cover from the rain. That word comes around that, hey, the events are about to start, and 4x100 needs to be out there. So Melo goes and helps them warm up for a little bit for the JV 4x100. And then Melo decides to go out there to get out of the rain because it is about to come again. Melo goes to look for a place to get out of the rain. And you will see in the video a word about the video for a second. I'm going to tell you that video, there was a surveillance camera. It is on the opposite side of the stadium. We all know how stadiums work. That's pretty far away. And so it is before you zoom in. It is just little dots on the screen. And then you zoom in. And as you zoom in, it becomes pretty blurry. So you guys are going to see video of everything, but I think it is going to be pretty fair to say that video, it establishes some things, but it is not crystal clear about anything. But you can see that Memorial has a tent next to it. Next to it is Liberty High School's tent. You will see as people pass in front of the Liberty High School tent that Liberty is pretty jam-packed, that Memorial has a good number of people under it too. So Melo walks out in front of the tent and sees somebody he recognizes. Melo knew a number of people from Memorial, but he especially knew Blank is the close family friend of Karmelo's then and still girlfriend. And so Melo had spent time with Blank, knew Blank, recognized Blank, and goes over to say hi to his friend, who he thought was his friend. That would be Eddie Para, clearly, even though they don't say it. Melo sits down. A number of students see him sit down. He doesn't slip into the tent like some thief in the night. He walks right up to his buddy, and they describe, as the young folks talk about it, dapping each other up, doing the little handshake thing. Hey, how are you? And he sits down, and they chat for somewhere, a few minutes. Some witnesses say 5 minutes. Some witnesses say less than 10 minutes. It is some amount of time. Sits there talking. The government just said that multiple people told him to leave. But before that, multiple witnesses, and these are Memorial kids, said that they were just talking. Everything was fine. Clearly, he seemed to know Blake. He seemed friendly to talk. And that went on until Blake and Austin Metcalf saw Mello. Now Mello was seated toward the top of the tent. He has got Memorial kids to his left. He has got Memorial kids to his right. Blake, his friend, was sitting to his right. Blake is sitting directly in front of him with his back to him. Hasn't noticed him yet. For the however many minutes this talk is going on, catching up. Blake is right in front of him. Austin Metcalf is off to Mello's right, either on Blank row or maybe one row down. It is a little hard. No one remembers exactly. There are Memorial kids, estimate 10, 15, 20 kids under the tent. Everyone there but Karmelo is from Memorial. You're going to hear a lot of testimony about what happens, and it is perfectly natural for there to be small discrepancies and whatnot. But as the judge told you yesterday, you can consider the relationship of the witness to the parties to decide the credibility. And I just want you to remember that everybody under that tent is a teammate and friend of Austin and Blank. That's likely Hunter. Now, there are some independent witnesses. I don't know what the state is going to, who they're going to call and in what order, but you may not hear from anybody who is not Memorial, who was an eyewitness to this and exactly what happened under the tent until the defense gets to present evidence. So that's why it is so important that you keep an open mind so that you can hear both sides of the story. So Blank and Austin notice Mello and they confront him and tell him to leave. What's important to know is Mello is 5'8", 130-ish pounds, 130, 35, 140 on a heavy day. And Austin Metcalf is 6'1", 213 to 215 pounds. Well, according to his autopsy, he was 213. 83 pounds heavier than Mello. And they confront him. They tell him to get out. Now, you're going to hear that Mello was confused. Why are they making such a big deal out of this? You're going to hear different accounts of exactly what was said. The government has given you clearly it was touch me and find out. But there are witnesses who also are going to tell you that, well, maybe it was as long as you don't touch me, we're cool. And that's what Mello said. Let me tell you something. Mello said, as long as you don't touch me, we're cool. And I'm going to tell you why that's what he said. Okay? Because that's what most people would say. If somebody's talking trash, hey, just don't put your hands on me. As long as you don't touch me, we're all good. That's what people would say. Okay? Now, the reason they changed it to Mello saying, touch me and find out, or touch me and see what happens, because that sounds more threatening, more menacing. That sounds more provoking. Okay, that's what they were going for. Okay, please pay attention, because why would some of the kids say he said the other, and then some claim that he said the latter? I want you all to pay attention. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. So anyway, you will hear even from all of the Memorial kids, it is that Mello remained seated, even as Austin stood up, even as Blank stood up. That Mello put his hand in his bag when Austin stood up and was being aggressive, and that pretty much everybody recognized that as like a back off warning, the hand in the bag, even so much that multiple witnesses said that Austin said, "I know you ain't got nothing in that bag," calling Mello's bluff. And at that point, let me just tell you all something. Austin did say that, I believe, but I also think that it was at that moment that Austin grabbed his backpack and tossed it, because we know that's what he did, because we saw the picture of the backpack tossed over by the tarp. Now, with that all being said, and they even said it, Hunter said it, his father said it. Okay, so if they snatched the bag and tossed it, how did he have his hand inside the bag the whole time? The whole time. Y'all see how he was lying, right? You see how they were lying. Okay, it doesn't even make sense. But anyway, they got away with it clearly for now. So Austin comes towards Melo. Melo remains seated as Austin comes right up in front of him, standing right to his right shoulder. Blake stands up and he is directly in front. You will hear from witnesses that other Memorial kids start to stand up like kids do when they think a fight or an altercation of some sort is about to happen. They stand up, they gawk, maybe they move towards, but Melo stays seated. And it is uncontroverted that Austin makes the first physical contact. In spite of the warning, in spite of the don't touch me or don't touch me and find out or whatever was said, listen to that. He said, or whatever was said. He should not have said that. He should have kept saying what Melo told him that he said, which was, as long as you don't touch me, we're cool. That's what he should have done if he was being a good lawyer. But he says, or whatever was said, as if he doesn't damn know, because Melo's saying one thing and they're saying another. But you're supposed to believe your client. You're supposed to say what your client told you, not what other people are saying. Do you all see how this is problematic? I'm telling y'all he threw the case on purpose, but we already know that by now. So anyway, goes on to say, or whatever was said. Austin grabs, shoves, punches, pushes. There is going to be different descriptions of that. But in that split second, Melo has a decision to make, how and when to act. Because the thing about self-defense is the law says very clearly that you can't use it too early, of course, because then it is not self-defense. But self-defense is useless if you wait until it is too long or you wait too long to defend yourself. So the question, when you are put in that position, is when to act. And you have to make the decision in a split second as things are happening. You will hear that it is raining. Some witnesses describe it as raining hard at this point. That Melo sat down to get out of the rain and that he sat down to talk to his friends. And now he has got Memorial kids all around him, and now they're turning on him and they're coming toward him, and he doesn't know what to do. And in that moment, he has to decide what to do. And so he reacts in a split second of fear and chaos. Now, a question may come up throughout this trial, why he didn't just walk away. And I want you to pay close attention that there is an answer to that question. After Melo defended himself with a knife, because it is a question for you if there was a reasonable defense for himself. But after he did defend himself, he ran. He didn't stab twice. He didn't threaten anyone else with the knife. He didn't keep the knife just in case. He dropped the knife, tossed the knife right by the bleachers, ran right on the bleachers, right by the tent. He could have ran and tried to throw it in the woods or whatever. Okay, he's doing a piss poor job, like I said, and that is so blatantly obvious to me. There was no woods next to it, but he could have tried to run and throw it somewhere where it couldn't be found, but he left it right by the tent. He ran, he stumbles, he falls. There are people running, there are people yelling, there are people chasing him. He falls on the tent. Now, on the bleachers, as he is going down the bleachers, of course, it is wet and slick. And then he goes along, and the video shows this. He goes along the edge, and the government just said he is trying to slip out. He is trying to get away with this, they think. Except instead of going out towards the exit, he turns and goes onto the track where there is coaches and people, and it is obviously not the way out. He goes to the track and walks right up to a coach, Vincent Hooper, okay, who puts his arm around Melo, and you can see it in the video. When the police got there, Melo stayed with Vincent Hooper, didn't try to run away. When Officer Cortez came up and said, I have the alleged suspect, he said he did. He said, I am not alleged. I did it. This is not someone trying to hide it. He immediately says, I was defending myself, and you will hear those statements as he sobbed. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, your job is going to be to decide, has the government ruled out every logically possible reasonable doubt? And that includes, has the government ruled out the logically possible reasonable doubt that Melo acted in self-defense? Thank you. Okay, so now those are the closing arguments. And if I have to say, what the prosecutor did was a whole lot more convincing than what Mike Howard did. Okay, it absolutely was. So let's go to another section. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now we're going to hear from one of the witnesses. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we are. This is volume 7. I think I'm gonna start right here. Like stuff, everyone, please don't forget to like and share. Thank you. It helps us stay in the algorithm. Okay, now this is a witness on the stand. Now, mind you, some of the witnesses' names aren't mentioned because of their age. Okay. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Hold on. Let me scroll down a little bit further. Okay. I think we're going to start right here. Hold on, beloveds. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go to the part where Bill Worski is leading the witness. Okay, so that's absolutely what he was doing. I'm going to skip past all of this. Okay, no, let's start right here. Let's start right here. All right. Now, here's the question that the person's being asked. When you say that, okay, so it caught your attention, you thought something was going on over there. You mentioned that people are looking back. Melo is in the top corner. Does it appear to you that people are looking at him? Do you notice something? I mean, does it strike you that he is involved in some way? Now he's asking one of the students, I do believe, who's on the stand, like, did they notice a commotion going on? Because I think this is one of the people who were out during their warm-ups. Yes, sir, it was. I would say that, I would say when I talk about the people looking back, I'm talking about like kind of that front row of people. And those were the ones looking back up at what was going on behind them. And Karmelo's behind them. Okay, then he asks, do you notice if people are standing up or standing or sitting, or does it register? It was a mix. Some people were standing, some people were sitting, some people were walking by. Okay, but enough of a change in tone that you took notice of it and thought that looks different. And then the witness says, what caught my attention was the people looking back and like the change of demeanor in it. Yes, yes, sir. Okay, then they say, do you remember telling the detective that my immediate thought was, I thought my teammates might be in trouble. I thought I might need to go and help him. Yes, sir. It was kind of flying in blind because it could be people just messing around. It could be something serious. It could be like, you know, they knew each other under there and they were just talking and maybe the people in front didn't know. I really had no idea. But at the time, it was enough to strike you as like something is wrong. Yes. And then the person says, yes. The person says something is wrong or could be wrong. Could be wrong. Hold on. Could be wrong. Yes, sir. Okay. I'm sorry, I read that backwards. So the attorney is saying something is wrong or could be wrong, and then the witness says could be wrong. Yes, sir. Okay, the attorney says, do you stand there? Do you move closer? He says, a slow walk closer while I am looking over my shoulder because, well, so like I said, I thought something could be wrong. I wanted to see if my teammates could see it too. So I was looking back over my shoulder. So I didn't really think too much of it at this point because when I looked back, my teammates didn't seem out of the ordinary. And then Mr. Howard, this is Karmelo's attorney. Mr. Howard says, okay, may I approach the witness, judge? And the court says, you may. So to demonstrate, you said, if I am you and the tent is in your direction, right? And the witness says, yes, sir. Okay, he says, I'm on the field. You said that you see this thing happening that makes you concerned as possibly an issue, right? The witness says, yes, sir. And so you said you start to kind of slowly walk that way and you're watching it, but you're also looking back over your shoulder where your teammates are to see if they're registering this issue. The witness says, yes, sir. And I was even asking them, like, is something going on over there? So then Howard says, do you stay back looking backwards for an extended period of time, or do you look back towards the stands? The witness says, I would say a little bit of a time, because at that point I was kind of fully turned. I had kind of fully turned my body into like a back pedal, and then, but still very slow. Howard says, okay, so as you're checking in with them, are y'all seeing this? The witness says that's when they also looked over too, and they were a little like, okay, what's going on? Howard says, so then you, I assume, turn back. And the witness says, yes, sir. Okay, so now you're back to facing the tent. Yes, sir. And has the thing that you were describing is continuing? Has it stopped? It was continuing. What did you see next? That's whenever I saw a push. So I believe the detective asked you if the push you were seeing, if that was Austin and his back is to you, you could tell. How could you tell it was a push? Do you remember what you told him? The witness says, arms. I saw the arms go out. So I didn't know who it was for or who it was or like why it had happened or anything. I just saw arms go out and make contact with Karmelo. Okay, and so you see arms, and I think you described like the flaring of elbows. He says, yes, sir. So you see this. If the jury is you, you see this demonstrating. The witness says, yes, sir. So Howard says, to be fair, can you see how much contact or how contact is being made with Melo? The witness says, no, sir. You just see arms going out towards Melo. Yes, sir. Was that concerning to you in that moment? Yes, sir. Are you continuing to move forward out of that concern? Yes, sir. That's whenever I had been moving around, but I was still looking over my shoulder, especially since I had seen that push. I was wondering if, my teammates had seen it, and I was also asking them, like, is there about to be a fight? Are they friends? It just depended. Like, I was still kind of in the dark about it. Okay. Howard says, so you weren't sure this was a fight, but you were thinking this could be a fight and you were concerned. Is that fair? Yes, sir. I thought it could be anything. Okay, and you said that there are people kind of all around Melo fairly full in the tent. Yes, sir. You, I assume, had seen a fight break out at a school. Yes, sir. Or just in general. Yes, sir. Is it common for kids to kind of circle around a fight or move towards a fight or stand up to get a better look or whatever? Yes, sir. Have you seen instances where kids will jump in and get involved in the fight? Yes, sir. Is that part of your kind of concern? I am seeing something that could be a fight, and also there is people all around. Yes, sir. I guess at the time I didn't really think too far into it. I was more wondering why, what was causing it, like the original shove. Like I was running through all the possibilities. Maybe it was his friend. Maybe it was, maybe something happened. Maybe something didn't happen. I was just running through everything, so I wasn't thinking too much about it. To be fair, you don't have context, right? Correct. Yes, sir. You don't know what's happened just before this. He says no idea. Whether they were horsing around or if this is super serious. Yes, sir. But it was enough. Hold on. Okay, to know if it was something that was super serious. Hold on, I scrolled too far. Hold on, give me just a second. Okay, yeah, I thought it would be. I thought it was something like small, like a bee sting, anything, because people were making different sounds. Some people sounded like they might have been laughing, which is why I thought it might have been a bee sting. Okay, but then obviously as the seconds go by, you see that it is something much more serious. Yes, sir. And before I move into the next moment, so it seems pretty clear that you see the push and then you look away, and the next thing you see is kind of chaos running around. Yes, sir. So did you not see the stab or the moment of that, correct? No, sir. Correct. You see a push and you turn and then you miss whatever happened in the next second. Yes, sir. When you saw the push, is Melo seated? No, sir. Okay, is he standing? Yes, sir. Okay, so you see the push, you look back, and then you turn back and you see chaos happening. What's happening next? What I didn't know at the time was it was Austin had started pulling up his shirt and saying that he got stabbed, and everyone, some people were trying to help him. Some people were like frozen. It was a mix of emotions, a really scary. And then Howard says, a really scary incident. And then he says, yes, sir. Howard says, you said you didn't know Austin at the time. Correct. At that time, it is just this person lifts up his shirt and says that, but now you, through all of this, have come to know that that's Austin. Yes, sir. And then in the moments of people helping him and freezing, do you see Melo at some point? Yes, sir. Do you see him running away? Do you see him standing there? What do you see Melo doing? Kind of a light jog like going to the right on the bleachers. Okay, so you register him there. They're seated and then maybe standing and then chaos. And the next time you see him, he is moving across the bleachers in a light jog. Yes, sir. Do you follow him every second of this journey, or are you looking back and forth, or what's happening? Flipping back and forth. Okay, so as you flip back and forth, does Melo catch your eye again at anywhere in a different place? He was on the track whenever I next looked at him. Okay, so if I go from the bleachers and then I go kind of around the track, there is a fence between me and the track, correct? Yes, sir. And then as I go around towards, the end zone and behind the goalpost, I am headed towards the exit if I want to, correct? Yes, sir. And I could just run out to the parking lot, correct? Yes, sir. But if I get to the field, I'm turning and going through the little entrance in that fence onto the field. Correct. So you next see Melo on the field. What is he doing? He's crying, and there's a coach kind of comforting him, like holding him. Okay, and it seemed like comforting to you in that moment. Yes, sir. You said he was crying. You know, people cry differently. How would you describe his demeanor and that experience in your view? I feel like the best word for it was he was like distraught. I would say it was the best way to describe it. Okay, distraught. Did you feel, he says, okay, distraught. Did you get a feeling, did you feel in that moment that distraught was real or a put on? Or I would say everything going on for everyone there was real, very real. First of all, I don't think that's a question that Mike Howard should have necessarily asked Karmelo. I mean, not Karmelo, asked the witness, because they can't say, all they can do is speculate. Okay, but anyway, where are you? Are you frozen? You describe how some people are running, some people are frozen. Where are you during all of this time? Are you moving around or what? I was moving around. I was moving towards the right from the field, so I was like going to an angle towards the bleachers, I guess. You had been kind of midfield headed toward the bleachers. He says, yes, sir. And then everything happened, and you said you started to go towards the right. Yes, sir. Now I'm going to move down a little bit further. This is going to be the last part. Okay, these last two pages. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, here's where Worski comes in. Now, I want you all to pay attention to how he cross-examines. Mr. Howard, pass the witness, Judge. Mr. Howard says, pass the witness, Judge. The court says, Mr. Worski, cross-examination. Okay, here he comes, Mr. Worski, the assistant DA. He says, Blake, how are you this morning? I'm all right. And just so the jury knows, you, your mom, and a couple of people on the prosecution team met back in April, right? Yes, sir. Do you remember the last question that you and your mom asked me as y'all were leaving? I do not. You said, what do I do if the defense talks to me? Do you remember that? Asking that? I think I do. Yes, sir. Do you remember my answer? I don't. My answer was, that's okay if they do. Just tell them now you have seen the videotape and you had a few things wrong. Do you remember that? Now I want you all to pay attention. How is he going to sit there and tell the witness that he had a few things wrong? Okay, I want you all to pay attention because what he's doing is he's getting him to change his story, getting him to say what he likely wants him to say. Okay, please pay attention. Now, he goes on to say, and for those of you, if you didn't see my TikTok, this is what I was talking about right here. This is the part I was talking about in that TikTok I did about this. I'll go to that momentarily, but hold on. Okay, so he goes on to say, you had a few things wrong when we talked, right? Yes, sir. Okay, and in fairness to you, and I'm not trying to embarrass anyone, I didn't want to embarrass you that day, but we just showed you the video of the stabbing showing the memorial tent, right? Yes, sir. You never looked at the video and we had of the other side of the field, did you? What do you mean? Where would you have been that captured you and the other Centennial athletes warming up? No, sir. And you never really talked to you, or we never really talked to you about timelines and who was looking where, when, right? Yes, sir. Okay. What we determined at that meeting was your initial statement to the police and some of your statements today that you saw Karmelo Anthony surrounded had to have been after the stabbing. You recall that? Now, I'm going to tell y'all right now, he's leading the witness. He's leading this witness and coaching the witness right in front of every damn body in that courtroom, and nobody said nothing. There was no objections from Mike Howard. The judge didn't say, stop. I need to see the attorneys at the desk, at the bench. Y'all see this? Do y'all see this? I wish I had gone to that trial. This is all crazy. But let's continue. He said, you recall that like when me and you talked? This is what the guy says, like when me and you talked? And the Worski says, yes. And then the guy says, yes, sir. And you walked out of there. I guess everybody sees what they see, and then they create a story in their head. Would you agree with that? Yes, sir. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is some bull-ish. Are y'all hearing this? This is my first time reading this part right here because I actually started on this page, but I started a little bit further down because this is the part where I said, okay, he's clearly leading the witness, but I didn't even read this part. But there's more where he's going to be definitely leading. But right here, this is even worse because not only is he leading him in this part, but he's making him change his story in real time. He's telling him what, in fact, he saw. He said, you said you saw this, but then we showed you the video. So when you saw the video, you know how sometimes you think you saw something? Well, the video proved to you that that's not what you saw. But the video was altered. The video was altered. We already know that I showed you all the receipts. I showed you all the proof and receipts that most people didn't even notice at first. Okay, if you remember, the first thing I showed you was Officer E. Cortez's body cam footage had a date from February of 2010. This happened in April of 2025. Maybe somehow his body camera reverted back to the factory settings. So when it was purchased, maybe, I don't know. But that was sketchy. Okay, also, you can see glitches. I showed you all that too. And I told you that it looked as if someone took out a part and added in a part. Because we see Melo under the tent, and then all of a sudden he pops up out of the tent. What happened in between? That part was clipped out. So this person saw an edited video. They didn't show him the real video that people saw, the people that were on the news. The old white lady who saw it too, the elderly white lady who said it looked like Austin fell on the knife, which is exactly what I think he did. Okay, that's exactly what I think he did when he went in to grab Karmelo. Okay, and mind you, this wasn't a knife that Karmelo brought from home either. This wasn't a knife that he brought from home. It was the thing that they used to put up the tent. How do we know that? Because Austin said it. I mean, not Austin, Hunter said it right after the incident. Before the ambulance even left the field, it was reported by Fox 4 Dallas and then removed. Allegedly, according to sources, that's what several people from Dallas and Frisco have all said. They said Austin and his two friends were standing there talking to reporters, and they said, yeah. And then he picked up the tool that we had used to put up the tent after Austin punched him in the face. Okay? That's what happened. Not this bullshit they're talking about, but let's continue. That's what happened. Now, these devils, they know they will lie and railroad you, honey, string you up from a tree. They'll do all manner of low-down evilness to you. And when your people try to fight for you for justice, then they'll say, we're making it about race. Isn't that some shit? Isn't it some? Let me not curse, but let me continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. So then they go on to say, and you walked out of there, I guess everybody sees what they want to see, and they create a story in their head. So you're going to let this man tell you that you created a story in your damn head? I would have told him I saw what I saw. Now, would you agree with that? He says, yes, sir. Mind you, this is just a teenager, so what do you expect? And you had a story in your head when you visited, right? Based on what you had seen, what you heard. Yes, sir. And when you left that meeting, your eyes were opened a little bit because now you can see objective video proof of the stabbing, correct? Correct. Okay, when you're going to come back to that, we're going to come back to that, and I'm going to show you the video from the other side of the field. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to juxtapose it on the timeline, and I think it will give you and the jury some insight as to what you actually saw and what story you may be telling yourself based on what you saw. Does that sound fair? Hell no, is what I would have told him. Yes, sir. Okay, let's start earlier that morning. You said Karmelo was normal. Yes, sir. I want to report Karmelo was sitting there thinking when he saw this going down right before his eyes. Coach Wooten came and told you guys to get on the field and warm up, right? Yes, sir. And Coach Linwood expects everybody in the relays, JV and varsity, to warm up together and practice hands off, right? Yes, sir. For some reason, Karmelo Anthony chose to go up to those bleachers, right? Yes, sir. And with respect to this rain, did you ever take shelter from the rain under the bleachers? Under the bleachers? Yes, sir. The person answers, no, sir. But people were. I have no idea if they were or not. But you are familiar with the track. Anyone that wanted to get out of the rain would just stand under the bleachers, correct? He says, yes, sir. And Karmelo left you quite a while before the events you described, right? Yes, sir. And again, you haven't seen the other video. We didn't share it with you, just out of respect. Just out of respect for you and your mom. You go over to the baseball dugout. The coach tells you to leave, right? Yes, sir. And you leave, right? Yes, sir. I'm going to skip down past some of this. Okay, he says, somebody asked you to leave. You leave, right? Yes, sir. You weren't supposed to be there, right? Yes, sir. My impression when we first met, blank, you thought when you saw people surrounding Karmelo Anthony, it was before the stabbing, right? Yes, sir. And you realized after seeing the video that the people that you thought were surrounding and maybe jumping a teammate of yours, that was actually after the stabbing, right? I couldn't really tell when the stabbing happened on the video. Would you like to look at it? Now he's trying to convince him. He says we can. He says we can. Now here's the thing. He has made this young man change his story. This young person saw Karmelo being jumped. How does he know it was after the stabbing? because that's what Worski told him. That's why he said he feels that Worski told him that. But we all know from what we saw that that was before the stabbing. They did jump him. Okay, they did jump him. And like I told you all, under Texas law, if there's multiple offenders, it's called the multiple offenders doctrine. If there's 3 or more people that are about to jump you, you don't even have to wait for them to touch you. You can defend yourself because there's no way in hell you're going to beat all 3 or more. 9 times out of 10. Okay? And you can do so even if you need to use deadly force. That's the law. So by all of their own laws and rules, this was absolutely self-defense and should have been treated as such. Karmelo should never have even been arrested. Okay? Should never even have been arrested. You said we were both going to have to wash our mouths out with soap and water. Okay? Because it's ticking me off, beloved. Now, this is all so crazy. So then goes on to say, yeah, there is a push and then there is a stab and then Karmelo and then that happens. Remember looking at the video, everyone under the tent is seated. You remember that? See, you can't do this. As a prosecutor, you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to sit there and tell him. You can't ask the witness a question then say, right? Because now you're trying to get them to answer it the way you want them to. Because what if they want to say it's not right? What if they want to say no? You're leading them. You're coaching them. You're telling them what to say. It's called vouching for the witness. It's called acting as a witness yourself because now you're bringing up things that you both said in a private conversation when you had that meeting with the witness and his mother, and you're not supposed to be bringing that up. You're not supposed to be bringing that up, and nobody said a damn thing. This is all crazy. Nobody said nothing. No objections from Mike Howard. This is all just so pathetic. Okay, so anyway, goes on to say, I don't think it, hold on. Okay, he says, yes, sir. Would you like to see it again? I don't think it is needed. No, sir. Okay, any doubt in your mind when you first looked back over at the memorial tent, everybody was seated? No, sir, no doubt. Actually, I saw people walking around and standing up around the tent, but I wasn't like normal though, right? Yes, sir, I wasn't. This was before the commotion, before you thought maybe there was a bee sting, right? Now here comes Mike Howard. Now he wants to say something. Hold on. He then goes to say, this was before the commotion, before you thought there was a bee sting, right? Yeah, because so you look over there. Mike Howard says, Your Honor, I object. The court says, let's try to let each other answer and question, okay? Don't interrupt each other. Blank, you look over there. Wait a minute, that's what the judge told Mike Howard when he entered an objection? What the hell? Your Honor, I object. The court says, let's try to let each other answer and question, okay? Don't interrupt each other. And Worski continues on with his line of questioning. And then the court says, hey, did you hear what I said? Worski says, yes, sir. And then Worski says, blank, you look over there. Everything looks normal. Yes, sir. You look away, go about your business, you look back, then there is a commotion. Yes, sir. People are standing up. And when you and I met, now here it is right here. Listen to this. People are standing up. And when you and I met, you told me that's when you thought that this was before the stabbing, right? Leading him again and telling him what to say. That's what he's doing. Right? You literally can't say that. I thought it was right when the stabbing happened. That's what the witness answers. And now you know you are wrong. After seeing the video back in April, right? Telling him he's wrong. Who does that? Yeah, because I hadn't seen the stabbing because I was looking back and forth. Yes, sir. Would you like to see the video from the other side of the field that shows where you and your Centennial teammates were as you warmed up? We can. Yes, sir. Worski says, okay, I would ask permission to publish States 5. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop right there. This is all some bull crap. I want y'all to pay attention. This is low down and dirty. Okay, this is low down and dirty. Now, I'm going to go to my TikTok because I basically explained in that This is some BS. Okay, it absolutely is. Like, this is worse than I thought. I mean, I knew it was bad because we heard, people reporting and everything, but reading these transcripts, you really get to see exactly how low down these dirty devils are. I mean, he had no chance at all. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I mean, they just ruined this young man's life. They just railroaded him and sent him to prison for something that some thug started. And that's what Austin was. He was a thug. I'm sorry, it's true. Just like his no good father. Okay? Just like his no good father. At the end of the day, they sent this young man to prison for 35 years for defending himself against a thug, a racist thug at that. Let's not forget how they were arrested, okay, for racist graffiti. I've been reading over the Karmelo Anthony trial transcripts, and it's very interesting. Let's get into it. So one of the things I noticed is they basically accused Karmelo of being the provocateur just from something that he said, when Austin, in fact, put his hands on Karmelo. Now, here's the thing. To absolve Austin from any culpability, what they did, in fact, according to the transcripts, it basically seems as though they acted as if Austin only put hands on Karmelo because Karmelo provoked him into doing so. Now, I want you to really think about the consequences of that. So you mean to tell me someone can come up and just punch you in the face, and then you can be the reason that they did that, and you can be blamed for them doing so because all you had to do was say something to get them to the point that they did that, and now you're the reason? So you're the one that provoked them. Okay, please make it all make sense. And also, Bill Werski, the assistant DA, from what I've read thus far, well, he was absolutely leading the witnesses during the line of questioning. Okay, please pay attention. He also seemed to be reminding the witnesses of things that they'd said prior. Okay, now he's not supposed to do that. If they don't recall something, they just don't recall it. Him sitting there giving them information, feeding it to them off a spoon is real crazy work. Please pay attention. Now, let me just give you an example of how he was leading the witness. He says, people were standing up at this time. And when you and I met, you told me that you thought that that's when the poking happened, right? Okay, he's not supposed to do that. Okay, if a witness seems to have forgotten something, then you can show them a previous statement that they already made or whatever. But you don't get to just sit there and tell them or bring up private discussions that you had or a meeting or whatever, because at the end of the day, maybe the witness has changed their story. Okay, please pay attention. You see, by framing the question this way, by bringing up a private unrecorded meeting that the prosecutor and the witness had, well, that's absolutely unethical. Please pay attention. It also creates serious legal problems. Now, as I said, a prosecutor can absolutely ask about prior statements, but that format, that crosses ethical and procedural lines. Okay, please pay attention. Now, mind you, when something like this happens, you would expect the defense to do what most defense attorneys would do. They would immediately object to that line of questioning, but there's no signs that Mike Howard, in fact, objected. Okay, please pay attention. You see, they would object under the grounds that the prosecutor is vouching, basically becoming a witness. Because if the prosecutor is bringing up something that he said or that was said to him by the witness privately, well, now he's basically testifying that I heard the witness say that. Okay, please pay attention. Now, mind you, if it's a direct examination where the prosecutor is talking to their own witness, then that would be considered leading. Okay, because he's not supposed to ask a question and then also imply what the answer should be. And that's exactly what he did when he said right. Also, there could be a lack of foundation because the defense could also argue and say that they have no record or recording of that actually having been said. Okay, so there's that. So everything was wrong with this trial as far as I'm concerned. Karmelo Anthony was absolutely railroaded, and I can't wait until he gets justice, okay, the justice that he deserves, because 35 years for protecting and defending yourself from someone who actually physically attacked you and then blaming you further, okay, because the person put hands on you, saying that it was words that came out of your mouth that led them to do so is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, please pay attention. It's a darn shame. It's a darn shame. Okay, but Carmelo's getting up out of there. Okay, and the haters are going to be so mad. Sarah Fields, get ready because it's all coming. He's getting out of there. There's no way that once they see this evidence, which is very compelling, there is a whole lot of inappropriate things going on. The fact that the prosecutor was leading these witnesses, that he's reminding them of things to say, making them change their story. He literally made the person change their story. Oh, so you didn't really see what you thought you said. And sometimes, wouldn't it be safe to say that people make up things in their own head because they think they saw something? Yes, sir. And then once we showed you the video, then you realize what really happened, right? Where they do that at? Oh, that's right. In small towns where they exhibit and issue nothing but Southern fried justice. Okay? That's what that is. And Southern fried justice just means justice for them and not for anyone contrary to them. All right. So with that all been said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Justice for Karmelo Anthony. All right. Justice for Karmelo Anthony. And if you've missed any of my broadcasts that I did on Karmelo or Nolan, I have playlists. Okay. I think I've done almost 100 videos on Nolan. It's like at 99, if I'm not mistaken. But Karmelo, I think we're at like 50 something. So you all can binge watch them, go back and catch up on whatever you missed or whatever. But Karmelo will be back in court tomorrow, and we will be filming it live right here on the original Queen Shakur show. With that all been said, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
Karmelo, young king, they tried to bury you, but the most Karmelo gon' be just fine. God gon' see about this in his own time. Hold your head high, don't let them steal your light. Karmelo gon' be just fine tonight. Peace be still, peace be still. That's just how we feel. Peace be still, peace be still. Keep your faith for real. Storm clouds hanging, people talking every day. Everybody got opinions, got something to say. But we praying for the truth wherever it may lead. Praying for the family and everybody's needs. Know we tapped in, we watching every move. Trying to stay together while the world keeps choosing sides to prove somebody hurting, somebody crying. That's the truth. So we asking God for wisdom while we're searching for the proof. Karmelo gon' be just fine. God gon' see about this in his own time. Hold your head high, don't let them steal your life. Karmelo gon' be just fine tonight. Peace be still, peace be still. That's just how we feel. Peace be still, peace be still. Keep your faith for real. Stay strong, little bro, don't give up the fight. The Most High still working in the dark and in the light. Family standing with you, love standing too. Keep your faith in the storm till you make it through. When the pressure gets heavy and the nights get long, remember every trial ain't where you belong. Keep your eyes on them all, keep your heart on God. One step at a time, keep moving through it all. We ain't giving up, we ain't backing down. Love gonna lift us when we're feeling on the ground. Hands to the heavens, prayers in the sky. Trusting in the truth as the days go by. Karmelo gon' be just fine. God gon' see about this in his own time. Family coming, faith coming to the strength of the Most High. Gonna carry you. Peace be still, peace be still. still. That's just how we feel. Peace be still, peace be still. Keep your faith for real.